Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC. This is the Superlights, round 3 of the GPVWC Superlights of 2022. As you can see, there is precipitation falling from the clouds. It is wet at Albert Park and I am also about to sneeze, so apologise if I stop commentating for a few seconds to do that. There you see the circuit layout, the brand new layout of the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne, with the skipped chicane and the slightly widened corners as well. And this is probably the first time that this track has ever, or this track layout at least, has ever been traversed in the wet. So look out for some slight unpredictability as a result. The drivers don't exactly know what to expect here today, and qualifying was quite something. I'll go through that in a second. Unfortunately, we have had to miss that. I'm your commentator today, Caitlin Penny. I'm not the scheduled commentator that was supposed to be in the broadcast, but I am here to save the day nonetheless. And our broadcast director, Tom Stevens, is here off the back of doing the Superlights test a few minutes ago for THR. And we'll be providing you with the sights and sounds that you see in front of you. As we have 2.5 minutes until the start of or at least until the session changes over, it's a good time to update you on what's been going on in this series. Lewis Bickers, the championship leader, is missing. He is not here today, and there is actually no replacement as far as we know. The second Royal Blue racing car appears to be missing altogether from the grid. It's just Simon Frelick behind the wheel of the Royal Blue racing car here. And we are, as yet, none the wiser as to what's actually happened there. And why Lewis Bickers is not here. Of course, he came into this round leading it by 7 points, and he will almost undoubtedly lose the lead of the championship today, since we are so early in the standings. So losing points now means you lose quite a lot overall. Jan Grangfist comes into this round second in the championship, and he was a little way down in qualifying, although that was, of course, in comparison to the pole sitter, and the fact that he's now on the wetter side of the grid, but he's a long way further up the grid than Lewis Bickers is, since he's actually not here whatsoever. Simon Frelick comes into this round third in the championship, followed by Luke Maguire, Sandeep Singh, Jokapeka Lalu, Christian Pascal, Chris Butcher, Tom Stevens, and Pascal Pollance, the top 10 in the championship, sorry. Of course, Tom Stevens, P9, is not going to be scoring any points today because he is busy being the broadcast director and doing a good job of it so far. In terms of the grid order for this race, Adriano Opporcini took pole position in the wet on slick tyres. He saw that the dry line was forming on the track, and actually a lot of the top runners decided to go out on slicks towards the end of the session. which was very chaotic and very difficult, and a lot of them made mistakes. There were a few big slides and spins and a few lost noses that I saw lying about on the track. But Opportuni did manage to take pole. Second place was Joseph Herlock, and that's a bad place to be because that is a very wet side of the grid now. And getting off from second, fourth, sixth, etc., is going to be quite a task. As Tom explained to me before the broadcast started, realistically, your first, third, and fifth drivers are going to be your first, second, and third in terms of the effective order, I guess. That side of the grid definitely has an advantage here. Luke Maguire up into... So he's in third position right now, but may well have an advantage over Joseph Herlock at the start of the race. Jan Grankvist, your championship leader, qualified fourth, and then there was quite a big gap back to Pascal Pollens in fifth, then Giuseppe Saracino, Fabian Schiertzik, Olivier Perekian, David Wasserman, and Dylan Platt were the top 10. A slightly more spread out grid than usual, although that is of course because of the changeable conditions and the mistakes that some of the drivers were making. That is to be expected. The checkered flag is now waving on this warm-up session, meaning we now have just a couple of seconds until the server ticks over and we get ready to go to the grid. When the formation lap starts, I will give you a full rundown of the grid order, which shouldn't be too different from the qualifying order. The only outstanding penalty that we have for this is a 20-place grid drop for Francesco Leone due to an incident in the last race, although that won't be affecting the top part of the order. Yeah, so I'll update you on the full thing once we get to it. The race director now just putting everyone in the correct position, and the session does advance. So we get to see the drivers emerging onto the track, and of course deciding what tyres they're going to go onto as well. The circuit is probably, I mean, it's declared wet, so they're probably going to, they're not going to need to change tyre compound over the course of the race like they usually would do. And I'd like some clarification here, actually, because I don't know quite how the rules work with GPVWC in particular. Whether it's that if you start the race on slick tyres and you run the full race on slick tyres, does that mean you have to change tyre compound part the way through the race? Or is the track declared wet so that even if you do run the full race on slicks, you don't have to change compound? I'll have to get clarification on that because I'm actually not sure how it works with GPWC in particular. In Formula 1, I'm pretty sure that it's whenever the track's declared wet, that means that the tyre rules go out the window, even if you are on slicks. But in some other places, that's not necessarily the case. Here we go then, Adriano Opportuni starting from pole position, and it looks like he may be on inters, but I'm worried it might update partway around the lap. We'll have to see. Joseph Herlock is second, followed by Luke Maguire, Jan Grankvist, Pascal Pollens, Giuseppe Saracino, Fabian Schiertzik, Olivier Perekian there in 8th position in the Super Venturi. David Wasserman, which probably means Waterman, very fitting for a day like today, will be 9th. Then it's Dylan Platt, Maxi Geisinger, and Heigo Poom going from 12th place. Sandeep Singh 13th, Mateusz Kozowski P14, Christian Pascal in that crucial P15 position. Remember, points will go down to P15 today, so that's the place everyone's got to be aiming for. Michael Ayres 16th. Then it's Patrick Rojak, Shimon Frelich in the only Royal Blue car, Pascal Schmidt and Chris Butcher. Mark Veit is P21, followed by Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Tom Vandervoort and Ben Willis. And rounding out the grid with his 20-place grid penalty will be Francesco Leone, so he starts from the back effectively by default. The tyres appear to be updating now. There are a few that looked as if they were going to be on one compound, and it's now updated to put them on another compound. And I think everyone is on slicks by the looks of it. I'm not sure, because at the start of the lap it looked like they were all on inters, but that was just the game having not updated yet. It looks now like they're all on slicks, but on very different slicks. Look at that! A big mix of tyre compounds being used here. Opportuni from pole is on the medium. In fact, first, third, and fifth all on mediums. And that's probably... I expect second, fourth, and sixth have gone for softs because they know they're going to be getting limited traction off the line. And they may want to get some extra traction with the soft tyres. But it may also be that they're expecting more rain. So they don't want to commit to a stint that's longer than others. Interesting to see some other cars out of the top 10 going for the hard tyres as well, effectively like they would in the dry. Onto the grid then, there's Ben Willis making his way into P24. He'll be the second to last car on the grid today, and we will then be underway for 48 laps of racing in the damp, not quite the wet because the rain isn't currently coming down, but the damp of Albert Park and Melbourne in Australia. We wait for the 5 red lights, and this race is going to be intriguing. The left side of the grid should get a much better start than the right side, but let's see if that works in practice. Go! And it's almost a stall from Joseph Hurlock there in third place. He's now down into third place anyway. Opportuni leads down into turn 1. Maguire through, and there's contact with Hurlock and Maguire. Maguire spins back into the track, collects, oh my goodness, Pascal's involved, both, and there's cars flying up, and oh my goodness, that is one of the worst starts to a super lights race. It's like oh my goodness, there's almost every car involved. Only a couple of cars actually got through that one unscathed. Opportuni now leads by miles. He's got a country mile to Pascal Pollens in second position. He's several corners in the lead. And cars behind are slowing, and there's a red flag. We've got a red flag, and there's going to be a restart. So the start has been abandoned, and no surprise there, although it's actually quite rare to see that happening in GPVWC. They don't normally like to red flag races because it means that every driver effectively gets a T car, which wouldn't happen in real life in the modern day and age. But with an accident like that involved almost every driver except 2 or 3 that maybe got through it unscathed, they have had to throw the red flag and restart the race because it would have been way too unfair for the drivers caught out in that one. That was one of the strangest starts to a Super League race that I've ever seen. It all started with Hurlock and Maguire getting together. They both spun back into the pack, and then there was absolutely nowhere to go, no visibility for the drivers further back. And I'm afraid that's what you get when you try to start 25 cars on slick tyres on a damp track. And I can tell you, I go Poom there boasting about how he did a front flip. I can tell you that my cameraman Tom Stevens is laughing his head off behind the scenes. You lot cannot hear that right now, but I'm sure you can imagine it because I'm sure you are as well. So then, we're going to try that again, I guess. The drivers all going back and going back to the grid. I want to get the YouTube chat up, actually. I want to see what you guys have, how you guys have reacted to that. A lot of oh my's and OMG's in the chat. Some WTFs as well. Oh, this is great. Do they have to start on the same tyre? That's a good question there from Tom Stevens. There may be some drivers who have seen that and maybe gone, nope, int as it is. it may keep drying out, but I at least want to get through the first lap. Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that they don't. The red flag at this point in the race, it's not like how it would be kind of later on in the race. This is effectively a full restart, so it's basically just the race completely going from where it was. It's not like in Formula 1 where sometimes they red flag the race after a few laps when there's been a crash and the drivers all get to change tyres and the race resumes from where it was. And in real life, the race would now have one less lap than it was scheduled to, although that won't be the case in this. You'll see the grid scrolling past you again. I don't really see any more reason to read it out because you lot can all read and you've seen it all once before. But obviously it's still Opportuni and Hurlock from pole. And the important thing here is that every damaged car, every car that was completely totaled in that accident, which admittedly was quite a lot, quite a few of them, They are all now back in the race, and there will be no ill effects from any of those. Even the drivers who flew over the barriers into the crowd, probably causing unspeakable amounts of damage, are allowed to restart this race as if nothing ever happened, and that is the beauty of simulated motor racing. Back into the pack, Chris Butcher with a poor qualifying, back in 20th position. I'm reliably informed by Tom Stevens he was doing quite a lot of shouting a few minutes ago, so obviously not very happy, and now I'm being told I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Chris. Anyway, sorry, Tom, as well. Francesco Leone there, rounding out the grid. 25th position. So Ghost Speed cars bookending the grid here. The Ghost Speed ADG cars. And we prepare to go racing for a hopefully much cleaner second start. Let's see some more of the YouTube comments. GPVWC Simracing saying that's another clip for the end of season blooper reel. Yes, indeed. Goodness me. Dan Hyatt commenting, here we go again. Maybe we can make turn 2 this time. Yes, hopefully. That would be an unpredictable. Sorry, that would be not unpredictable. That would be a I don't know what I'm trying to say in there. I'm too busy getting distracted by comments. Mark saying unrealistic red flag. Well, no. The unrealistic thing about it is all of these cars being allowed to restart again. Obviously, the red flag was totally realistic. If that accident had happened in real life, I mean, I'm not sure we'd be going back racing again. Definitely not this quickly. Anyway, the drivers lining up on the grid once again. We still have the full 28 laps left. Sorry, 48 laps left on the timer. And into his box goes Leone. So Opportuni and Herlock side by side on the grid. Herlock got a really bad start the first time around, bogged down so badly because he was just trying not to get the wheel spin, not to spin the car around. Here we go then, the lights coming on and about to extinguish. Ignore the fact suddenly everyone looks like they're on inters again, and off we go. And once again, a much better start from the left-hand side of the grid. Opportuni leads, followed by Maguire. Pascal Pollens in third. Ooh, okay, well, I'm touching wood, but that looked a lot cleaner there. The first 3 at least got through safely, unlike with the first start, and they're already going pretty much single file into turn 3. Some cars side by side. Perikian got past Platt there into the corner, and yes, it looks as if we've had a completely clean first sector. Wow, I wasn't actually expecting that, but great work from all of the drivers there. Adrian Opportuni leads, followed by Luke Maguire, Pascal Pollens, and Joseph Herlock there, going past where the chicane would have been in the old layout of the circuit, and towards the weight chicane, which is going to be very treacherous in the wet. You do not want to put a wheel off the road or off even the racing line here. Although with that being said, they're still using plenty of curb on the exit. Fabian Schitzik's up to 5th place. I believe he started about 7th or 8th, so that's a decent start from him there. As Hygo Poom and Dylan Platt both pass Olivier Perikian further back. Patrick Rojak looks like he's had a brief spin or something, because he's dropped off the back of the tail, as I get the hiccups. And Pascal Pollens there, up into 3rd with that start. Slightly lucky to have started from 5th position on the grid rather than 4th or 6th, but even so, a decent start from him. That big twitch on the exit of turn 1 keeps the car in check. Now it looks like everyone is on the correct tyre compound. Jan Grankvist going for a move, on Fabian Schiertzig up the inside. That's going to be a close one. Into turn 3. And through the car park section, he's got 2 wheels on the damp, but a great move there from Jan Grankvist, the winner of the last race, who has a very good chance of taking the championship lead today. Schiertzig down to 6th. Giuseppe Saracino is the car behind them. It's largely single file here, for the time being anyway, but Luke Maguire is challenging our race leader, goes to the outside, whoa, being forced right out, almost onto the grass by Opporuni, who brakes a lot earlier than Maguire, startles him on the exit to the weight chicane. Opporuni being very aggressive in defence there, but you have to say he was holding his line and being relatively predictable there. And Sandeep Singh's in the wall. So Singh, who was running 12th or 13th, I think 13th, when at the time of his going off, has now lost his front wing. Possibly the first driver in the race to lose his front wing, yeah. Jolly good. A couple of drivers further back started on Inters actually. Chris Butcher and Michael Ayres are both going around on Inters right now, and they are both at the very back of the grid. So either, I think they probably pitted after the first lap, and Mark Weitner coming in to do the same. So a couple of drivers going for an alternate strategy, hoping that it starts raining again. And who's to say that it won't? Even if it doesn't, it's already an extremely wet track, which isn't going to be that comfortable on slick tyres. There's definitely a dry line though. There is definitely a dry line. And if you can keep to that dry line, it's good. Although Pascal Pollens just makes a slight mistake there. Joseph Herlock is going to have a good run on him. As further back you look at Platt and Poom. Herlock's going to be getting close towards the weight chicane. Not going to be any room though. That's exactly what happened to Maguire this last time around. And talking of Maguire, and Maguire side by side with Opportuni out of the weight chicane, got a much better exit. Opportuni made a mistake halfway through, and Maguire goes through. Oh, and Saracino's dropping. Saracino's had a spin, I think. Yeah, so Saracino lost on the exit of the weight chicane. He's now down into 12th position after a trip through the gravel. He's behind his teammate Christian Pascal now. So Maguire leads the race for the first time. Opportuni second, Pollens third, and now Dylan Platt passing David Wasserman, and that's because Wasserman's coming into the pits. Probably for Inters. Has the rain started to come down again? Not sure that it has, but still pretty treacherous out there. Maguire defending from Opportuni. You don't really have to defend that much in these conditions, because if you hold your line, if you stick within the dry section, there's only room for one car there. And the attacking car is always at a disadvantage, having to put wheels onto the damp in order to get past you. More yellow flags. Another car appears to be losing a couple of places. Fabian Schittig's on the full wets now. Fabian Schittig, who is running well inside the top 10, has gone for the full wet tyres, as has Mark Veit. So we've got this bizarre situation now, where everyone is so... And off! Luke Maguire is off from the lead! Runs into the gravel, Opportuni retakes the lead of the race. Maguire lucky not to lose too much there. Olivier Paricchia now passing Maxi Geisinger further back. And into the pits come Maguire and Pollens, and Maguire slithers out. Almost misses the pit lane altogether. I was going to say, we had a bizarre situation where we had some cars on track on slicks and others on full wets. You never see that. And Grankvist also in, Poom in, Dylan Platt in, Paricchian's in. Dylan Platt's not, yes he is in the pits now, stops in his box. Some cars stacking. Maguire getting away on the exit on the Inters. It looks like the track is getting damper. The dry line appears to be thinning. The weather has changed once again in this race. And this is going to be one of those races where there's no real net order. No real pattern that we can follow throughout the race. The pit window is going to come basically whenever it starts to rain or stops raining for long enough. And as a result, we're really going to have to wait until the very, very end of this race to determine who's in the position to win. Because you could say now that Luke Maguire is in the best position. He's the top car in Inters and going very, very well at this point in time. Probably the most comfortable driver out there right now. But he's still got 21 seconds to make up to lead this race. With that being said, can Opportuni hold out? No, he can't. Look, he's coming in. So Opportuni pits from the lead. Herlock pits from second. The track has got too damp. Luke Maguire will probably retake the lead now because he's been out on Inters for a lap now. I can see some yellows down at the weight chicane. Francesco Leone's just been through the gravel. He is on full slicks. Or slicks. I guess the full there is rather redundant. Heiko Poom goes through to lead. He is still on slicks. And the track is so shiny now. There's a sheen on the racing line. Maguire overtakes Adriano Opportuni on pit exit. Opportuni is on full wets. So Maguire on inters, Opporuni banking for the full wets, hoping this rain continues and worsens. Herlock is on the inters. There's Chris Butcher now up into 9th place. He was one of the first to pit for inters. Maxi Geisinger, ooh, took a look. And now he's under attack himself. Olivier Perikian. On the outside now, that would be brave. He's going to find the curbs. Ooh, that's a bad place to find the curbs. Through goes Michael Ayres there. They're not teammates, despite very, very similar liveries. Two very blue cars there. Joseph Herlock on the back of Opporuni. The inters appear to be slightly better than the full wets at this point in time, I'd say. So I've been keeping half an eye on Fabian Schiertek as well to see how his progress has been, since I think he was the first driver onto full wet. And he actually hasn't been progressing as much as I'd expect for a tyre that's really dialed in and working. But again, who's to say that that won't change in the next couple of corners, let alone laps? The gap for the lead's coming down dramatically now. Heiko Poom into the pits. So Luke Maguire takes it over. Luke Maguire leads the race once again, despite having been in the gravel just 2 or 3 laps ago. Opportuni's second. Herlock might be about to take second. He's going for it. So Herlock up the inside now, into turn 3, and he makes the corner. So Joseph Herlock takes second place there. He's only got a reserve contract for Red Arrow Racing there, and if he came away with a podium today, that would be more than just a good result. That would be a shocking result. Well, I say that with all due respect to Joseph. He's obviously very good. But podium level in Super League Lights good, that's a different matter. Super Lights, the Super League Lights has of course become a redundant name over the winter. So at this point in time, if you haven't been following along, it's Luke Maguire leading, followed by Joseph Herlock, Adrian Opporuni, and Jan Grankvist, who goes to the inside, has to back out of it. Ooh, cuts the corner slightly there. He's going to be hoping the stewards don't take too much of a notice on that. And now he's catching Opporuni. And a lot of the time I'd be saying that Opporuni might be regretting going on to the full wets, but does he regret it? Is the rain coming down harder? It's hard to see. Grankvist takes another look, but that's too fast a corner. Turn 1 there, there's only really one racing line. But Albert Park has recently become very oh, sorry, big twitch there big twitch for Opporuni. Just about gets away with it. Heiko Poom now passing David Wasserman for P7 as well. What I was going to say was Albert Park has recently stirred controversy by announcing that it now has 4 DRS zones for Formula 1. But in this race, it has 0 DRS zones, because in the wet, you can understand that giving the cars even less rear downforce is a recipe for disaster. They simply don't do that. Patrick Rojak just had a brief trip through the gravel, and through into 3rd goes Jan Grankvist. So Grankvist does take over that position. And the next driver who might take advantage of Opporuni is Pascal Pollens in 5th. Just been messaged by David Fiduk actually, who of course is the Red Arrow team boss, saying this is Joe's first ever open wheeler race. Joseph Herlock's first ever open wheeler race. That is amazing. Subbing for George, and at this rate he'll be doing more, says David. Yeah, no kidding. Meanwhile, Chris Butcher's just got up to 8th, passing Heiko Poom. See, Joseph Herlock, I mean, I've known him for a long time, but mainly as a GT racer. Sorry, I'm just taking a look at the front straight here. Perikian and Frelick just went, oh, Pollens, oh, and sideways goes Opporuni. He's not liking that section of the track here. Yeah, so Joseph Hurlock, I first raced against him in 2017. That was back with, it was an endurance race. We did 3 and 6 hour races mainly. And he was racing a Bentley in that series, and he was a lot quicker than me there. As Pollens is about to go around the outside of Opportuni. If he can pull this off, and he will, look at that, because he's got the ideal line into the weight chicane, and through he goes. It just shows you how much better the Inters are at this point. Dylan Platt's going to go through. Dylan Platt goes through into 5th. Slithers, but he makes the corner. Alpacini twitches on this, but he makes the corner. Alpacini twitches on the exit just to emphasize how much he's dropping at this point in time. It must be so frustrating, but he's got to bide his time because, again, if it rains further, it could play straight back into his hands. First retirement now, Giuseppe Saracino, I'm afraid, is out of this race. And with the number of yellow flags we've been seeing, I'm not surprised we've seen a DNF already. Ben Willis now looks as if he's about to become the second retirement. Oh no, he's got the car running again. He briefly stopped on the exit of the weight chicane, but he's moving once again. Keep seeing yellow. Oh, look at Hygo Poom! To the outside of Chris Butcher. Butcher started from 20th on the grid, so he is up into 8th position now. Up 12 places in just 10 laps. Obviously partly helped by pit stops and by circumstance, but that's what you've got to contend with in the wet here. Okie dokie, so through the middle sector, Olivier Perikian has lost his front wing. So Perikian, who was running 11th, is dropping. You don't have much grip in these conditions, but Perikian now has even less grip. And that was simply, I mean, looking back at the replay, he almost lost in a straight line. I mean, there's a slight kink to that section of track, but just aquaplaned. And yeah, he's going to drop well outside of the points. Definitely not worth giving up, though. Oh, and Maguire's lost it. So Maguire's lost it from the lead once again. He dropped back earlier on in this race due to an off, and he's had another one. And this time he might drop off the podium. Pascal Pollens going to the outside. Goes through. Oh, they touch! They touch! And around goes Luke Maguire, and Pollens saves it. So Pollens does go third. What a dismal section of corners for Maguire, who almost got rear-ended there by Opportuni. It was all by his own doing. He had his wheels on the paint as he braked for turn 1, kept it out of the barriers. But Joseph Hurlock leads the race by 5 seconds over Jan Granqvist now. Maguire down to 4th. It's Hurlock, Granqvist, Platt, Maguire, Opportuni, the top 5. Opportuni might be about to be passed by David Wasserman. He's got Wasserman on his tail. And why is Pollens dropped? Because Pollens was 3rd. He's now 7th. More yellow flags. Goodness me. Looks like Pollens lost on the exit of turn 4. Butcher now once again fending off Hygo Poom. I think Pollens was probably so excited about having just taken 3rd place that he oh no, it was as he tried to rejoin after the contact with Maguire. Put the power down too early while still on the wet patch. So that's why he's 7th. Chris Butcher into the pits. Is he going for 4 wets? Talking of Pollens, he's going back through on Wasserman on the inside. That's a risky one into turn 1, but he makes it. I say it's risky because that curb is so slippery. Just ask Luke Maguire. Down into the braking zone they go. Granqvist has fastest lap in this race. Set it on just the 2nd lap of the race, and he's now going 7 seconds a lap slower due to the weather. It's definitely worse than it was. Joseph Hurlock, he's leading his first ever single-seater race. He's just lost a couple of seconds. Oh, he's lost his front wing! Joseph Hurlock's lost his front wing! Oh, I knew it was too good to be true. Jan Grankvist takes the lead. We've got a leader jinx on this race. Opportuni led it and lost it with the wrong tyres. Maguire's lost the lead twice due to different incidents. And Joseph Hurlock, I noticed him losing time slightly and then just switched him and suddenly he didn't have a front wing. And that must have happened earlier on in the lap. Goodness me. So Grankvist leads from Platt, and then Opportuni is going to go back up into third. And Opportuni hasn't stopped for new tyres or whatever, it's just that suddenly everything's playing into his hands again. I wonder if Hurlock aquaplaned in the same way that I saw someone else doing. Just it's exactly the same. It's that little kink, the kink just before where the chicane would have been. Sorry, that's a really bad way of describing it. I'm going to get up a track map in a second so I can describe it better. But, oh, it's Pollens now! And he passes Opporuni! And that's for second, so... And Platt's now leading. So what's happened to Grankvist? Oh, and Frelick's just had an off as well. Sorry, what was that, Tom? Grankvist pitted. Okay, so Grankvist has been in. Sorry for missing that. And he is now on the full wet. So we see Pollens and Lalu. Jukka-Pekka Lalu, where's he come from? This race is all over the place. Jukka-Pekka Lalu is now up into the top 5. So we lose one red arrow from the top 5, gain another. I go Poom. Last time I mentioned his name, he was running P9. Here he is in third. Oh no! Almost runs straight into the back of Opporuni. Good save. And now he can take second because Opportuni's had a big slide there, big twitch. Might not get the opportunity to do it on this straight. Down into turn 3 is his best chance because Opportuni's struggling under braking. More and more people are coming in for full wets right now. Maxi Geisinger in the pits from 8th place. Poom to the outside. And please don't touch. Ooh, and he twitches out on the damp patch. Also in that lap was Michael Ayres. Oh, and Poom goes through. Was there a little lag spike there from Opportuni? No, it looks like he just... Oh, he got on the sausage curb on the exit. Okay, so Poom up to second for real now. What was I literally about to say? Ah, yes, wet tyres. Still appears that the inters are quicker than the full wets at this point in time, but the fact that more people are coming in for hard shows that it must be getting pretty tricky out there. Tell you what, Dylan Platt now leads by 13 seconds over Hygo Poom. Oh, and Frelick in the gravel. Frelick in the gravel, and Pollens back into 5th. Through goes Grankvist to 6th. Grankvist, he's not the top driver on full wets, is he? Because Opportuni's been on full wets for longer. Shimon Frelick into the pits after his off. Obviously feels that he's had enough of the inters. I don't really blame him after having seen how difficult it is to control that car. Poom is getting away from Opportuni though. It still looks as if the inters are potentially quicker. A lot of the time, if you say to a racing driver, here's 2 tyres, this one requires all of your concentration and skill to keep control of. Oh, sorry, I have to cut away from that briefly because a little mistake from Lalu has allowed Pollens back to 4th. There we go. Opportuni in their sights as well. Yeah, if you say to a racing driver, this is a tyre that it's tricky to control, but it's faster. You know, several tenths of a second a lap faster. And this other one, I mean, it's safer, but you're going to lose a few tenths of a second a lap. They're always going to go for the faster one. But maybe not in this race. Maybe they feel that either it's going to come to them on the wets, or it really just isn't worth the risk. It's a real balancing act at this point. Down into the braking zone at the end of the third DRS zone, which in the Formula 1 race will be the fourth DRS zone. And in this race is not a DRS zone at all, because there is no DRS. That looks like Leone coming down the pits without a front wing. Yes, it is. More retirements. Pascal Schmidt, Sandeep Singh, Olivier Pareckian, Ben Willis, they've all disappeared from the order since I last mentioned them. And all of them, yes, so Leone now back into the pits on without a front wing. More yellow flags waving, no surprise there, I'm afraid to say. I believe that was Gajowski. Oh, and Opportuni has lost his front wing, so Opportuni hits the wall from third place. And he was the top driver on the full wet tyre. But he's going to be dropping back now. So that honour goes to Grankvist, but he got on the curb. He was already losing it even before he put the power on. It wasn't that he was getting too brave with the right foot or whatever. He was already losing control. And that's when you know the track is really, really tricky. Platt is first, Prüm is second, Pollent's third. Someone's front wing has been left there on the exit of the third DRS zone. It's not Leone's because he's got a new one on now, and the game would have cleaned it up if he'd taken it. Someone coming into the pits. Prüm coming in from third, sorry. And Platt in from the lead. So Platt's been in from the lead. He's now on the full wets. I can't visually see the rain coming down. I haven't been able to for this entire race, but it's definitely been coming down. It's probably just my graphics not quite being able to take it right now. So Platt's been in. He's now out in third place. And that means that Pollent and Grankvist are now fighting for the lead, separated by about 0.7 of a second. He's just made a mistake there. I think Chris Butcher may have made a mistake. Butcher side by side with Frelich. They're going to slightly brush wheels. That's Frelich on the inside, Butcher on the outside. Frelich gets the place. Every single flash of yellow light that you see up there is someone having a brief excursion. Patrick Rojak this time has just had a spin. That's why you see the yellow. Oh! And a massive twitch from Butcher. Now that is the section of course that's been catching out drivers. He was so lucky to hold it there. And he's now going to have to go side by side with another car, Michael Ayres, down into the late chicane. It's because you're flat out through that section, and there's white lines, there's painted lines on the track that are extremely slippery, and sometimes the rear end can just overtake the front end, and the car can go for a spin. But Butcher did a great job to hold that. Here's the leader, Grankvist, under pressure from Pollent. Did pull out a couple of tenths on that last lap though. These two are on different tyre compounds altogether. Grankvist on the full wets, Pollent's the top driver on the inters. And by this point, it's been a long time since there's been any drivers on the slick tyres. Butcher's just had another big twitch. Ayres had another look. Butcher's going to hold the apex. Ayres still on the inside, has to give Butcher room. Butcher stays P9. Jolly good. Where's Dan Herlock? How's he doing? P6. Sorry, Joseph Herlock. I don't know why I said Dan there. Christian Pascal's lost his front wing. That's going to put Tom van der Voort into the points. 20 out of 25 drivers remaining in this race now. Still 18 on the lead lap somehow. Probably because of all the leader jinxing we've seen. Here's Pollens in from third. Currently on Inters. Might stay on Inters. Inters still definitely viable. It may just be, yeah, it looks like it was just a stop for fresh rubber there. Inters are relatively soft actually. They do tend to go off rather quickly. He's come out just behind Jukka-Pekka Lally there. As Ayres and Butcher fight over what is now 8th position. Hey Tom, what were you saying before this broadcast about this race being single file? Everyone proving you wrong so far, yeah. Every time I go to say anything, I have to interrupt myself because P8 and 9 are side by side, or oh, look at that, another big twitch from Butcher. It's the same place that he did it before, and this time he does lose a place to it. Ayres through to 8th. Butcher down to 9th. Michael Ayres got very unlucky at the Brazilian Grand Prix last year, the main Super League race. He was running well inside the points there for what would have been one of his best results in Simracing, and then made a mistake late on in the race and hit the wall. But today stands a good chance for top 10 finish if he can keep the car under control. We're not even halfway through this race yet, goodness me. Sometimes when races are chaotic, you see the time flash past before your eyes. This time it's taking a long time. I mean, partly because this race is just genuinely quite a lot slower than it otherwise would be without the weather. But also because so much has been going on that we're probably all just feeling tired out already. Patrick Rojak's now out of this race. He was running about P16, I think. He'd had a couple of spins in recent laps. And was he on slick tyres, or is my screen playing tricks on me? My screen isn't always accurate in terms of tyres, I'm afraid to say. Sometimes it doesn't register for a little while, but on my screen, he's registered as being on the medium slick tyres and having lost it on the main straight. Goodness me. While giving way to some leaders. I mean, that would make sense. 19 cars still in the race. Gragfist now leads by 3 seconds, so it's a long way from over. So Maguire having a big twitch. Prüm demonstrating what he just did, actually. Prüm on the back of Herlock. These two both on the full wets. Top driver on Inters now. Actually, it appears that full wets have suddenly become absolutely the order of the day, because the top driver on Inters is Pascal Pollens in 10th place. It does show you that the rain has got undoubtedly worse since the start. With that being said, Pollens is about to go for an attempt on Chris Butcher. Oh, and sails straight through and goes into the gravel. That happened to him earlier in the race as well. This is where he lost 3rd position. Might lose 10th now. Jukka-Pekka Lally right behind him. Goodness me. This is one of those races when I really, really wish that I had a co-commentator, because it's so chaotic that I'm not going to lie, my voice is tired out already, but anyway. Still got plenty more of this to come. Honestly, I really shouldn't be complaining, because this is an entertaining race. It may not be the best demonstration of racing from a strategic or driving point of view, but you'd be lying if you were saying that this is boring. David Wasserman now comes into the pits. He came in from 4th position in this race, doing an excellent job so far. Luke Maguire in as well. And Maguire goes into... Might start to be that... Who was that? Goodness me, someone... That may have been Frelick there. Kicking the tail out like it's drift racing. So we're watching Herlock versus Poom versus Frelick. These three in a train for 3rd, 4th and 5th positions. On Opportuni update, he is now up into the top 10 once again. P10 as it stands. Although a long, long way down. Not a lot has gone right for Opportuni since qualifying, has it? He led the race for 2 laps. And then a little bit more once Maguire made the first of his mistakes. But even so, it's been a chaotic one for Adriano Opportuni. The lead gap was coming down, but now Dylan Platt has decided to jump in. So Platt comes in from 2nd place, and Grankvist in from the lead as well. So the top 2 are in. We have a race on the pit lane. The gap was about 2.5 seconds, so let's see how they come out in relation to each other. Both go into inters. It's definitely that time of the race now. The rain has eased or stopped. And the track is not exactly drying, but it's less of a torrential downpour. It's not saturated anymore. Platt's come out right in front of his teammate Ayres. The TR Geeks Energy cars right together. And Ayres there to act as a bit of a rear gunner to him, I expect, because Jan Grankvist will be on him like a rash. A driver who will probably have the fastest lap until the very end of this race, unless it really, really dries out. Is Jan Grankvist in 5th position. Tom van der Voort into the pits. Every time a car comes into the pits, I have to check whether they still have their nose attached. Ayres and Platt, are they? No, sorry, that's Ayres and Grankvist. So Ayres trying to hold off Grankvist, who dives to the inside. Great move from Jan Grankvist there. The winner of last time out makes an awesome overtake. And Pascal Pollens follows him through. There's one place on the circuit where I say you have to be almost insanely brave to overtake. It's the inside of the weight chicane when it's wet. You'd think it would be harder to overtake on the outside, but actually that's the ideal line into the corner. Shimon Frelick comes in from 2nd. Hygo Poom now leads the race by 4 seconds. And that gap coming down a bit. Dylan Platt looks quicker at this point in time, and Maguire's lost his front wing. And he's going to miss the pit lane. Whoa, comes out right in front of Adriano Opportuni, who just avoids him. That's going to put him under pressure now from Jukka-Pekka Laulu. Might protest Luke Maguire for that after the race, because Maguire was committed to the pit lane and then missed it. Are those slicks for Maguire? That can't be right. We have to wait until he gets his front wing on and then goes out of the pits. There you see the tyre graphic. On my screen it's slicks, but again, my screen's been wrong plenty of times before, even today. Out of the pits comes Luke Maguire. Look at that, it is slick tyres for Luke Maguire in the THR car. Hold your breath. And pray if you believe in that sort of thing. Because Luke Maguire is about to venture where no driver has ventured in a long, long time. There is the tiniest of dry lines appearing on the circuit. Jukka-Pekka Laulu's just been off on inters. Hygo Poom's just lost the lead, so he was leading by 3 seconds. He must have dropped back somehow. I mean, he did drop back, but he must have made a mistake somehow. Dylan Platt now leads the race, and Grankvist goes through as well. Grankvist up to 2nd. What's happened to Igo Poom there? It might just be that the hard tire, the full wets are now extra specially bad. But surely you must have made a mistake or two in that last couple of corners. Dylan Platt leading by half a second over Jan Grankvist. We've only just passed the halfway point in this race. No way we're going to time. The timer was set to an hour 45 minutes. It's definitely not going to go to that. Big twitch for Luke Maguire. Oh, and he loses it. Well, I'm afraid that was very predictable. Loses his front wing as well. And does he lose the will to continue on in this race? Yeah, doesn't look like it. Good for him. We'll see how he feels in a lap's time, because that's not going to be a nice car to handle. A nice car to get back to the pits. Grankvist just made a mistake or something. Oh, he did. The penultimate corner of the last lap had a big slide. Herlock's losing it. Oh, Herlock in the wall. Herlock's now got a full lap to do without his front wing as well. That's the second time we've seen that car noseless. And that puts Ayres up on... I mean, no, Ayres was already on the podium. Goodness, I can't keep up with this. Chris Butcher's about to take 5th. Butcher from 20th on the grid is up to 5th. Grankvist just had another big twitch. He's just been off into the grass again. Obviously saved it, but lost about half a second. It's Platt, Grankvist, Ayres. TR Geeks Energy have 2 cars on the podium right now. Obviously, Ayres has been on those tyres for quite a long time, but... I mean, in this race, you really can't talk about pit strategy. A lot of the pit strategy in this race is just stay out until the weather changes or you lose your front wing. As, I mean, Grankvist just passed Luke Maguire there to emphasise the point. Maguire's still struggling his way around the track. He's now out of the points. Gajowski in the pits. He does still have a front wing. Francesco Leone's just had a spin at turn 1. Oh, he's on slicks too. Did he just spin coming out of the pits on those slicks? I wouldn't be surprised. Herlock gets well out of the way of his teammate there. Jakub Lali, who goes through into 8th. And yes, Francesco Leone was heading out of the pits, decided to cut across the grass in order to avoid the leaders, and then immediately spun into the wall. I've got to say, I mean, obviously I can't feel what it's like out there, but it was a big risk for anyone to go onto slicks, and I mean, it's no surprise to see that Maguire and Leone are now the last 2 cars on track. There are a few more cars on slicks now, though. Koshovsky, Veit, Pascal, they've all gone onto the hard tire. Oh, Proom's on hards now. Wow! Proom and Pollens are both on slicks. Taking advantage of the dry line. They've made the leap. Dylan Platt now losing time. The lead gap back down to a second. It was out to 2.5 a couple of seconds ago. Oh, and Pollens taking a very different line. Whoa! Good save, and through goes Lally. That was almost comedic, actually, where we had the camera just seeing Pollens going flashing past in the grass. Grankvist's going to miss the corner slightly into turn 3 there. Bit of a twitch, but still on the road. And at this point in the race, that's what matters. Amazed we still have 19 cars in this race. Oh, Luke Maguire's just had a huge one. Maguire's just been into the wall again, and he is now out of this race. Right as I was talking about how I'm surprised there's so many cars left in the race, Maguire just lost it at very high speed. And once again, it was him getting wheels onto the curb on the entry to the corner there. That's what's caused a lot of his other issues today. It doesn't really matter now. I'm afraid I'm beating a dead horse because he was already going to fail to score points at the rate that his race was going. And it's now over, which might be almost a relief. 20 laps still to go. Or still to survive, I should say. This may not technically be an endurance race, but it's going to feel like it. I mean, let's face it, this is an endurance race. It's going to be over an hour of edge-of-your-seat driving. We're already over 40 minutes into it. And I'm sure the drivers will feel like they've been racing hard for a week. By the way, Herlock just made a place back, past Maxi Geisinger. And that is the first time in a while that I've seen a car on slick tyres pass a car on inters. Yeah. But there are still cars on slicks going off. Mark Veit there's just hit the wall. And hit the wall hard too. Might be out of the race. And he's actually the guy you just saw at the side of the road there. Igo Poom passing the stricken vehicle. And thinking, I've got to be careful, otherwise that's going to be me in a heartbeat. Veit's accident there reminded me a lot of Rivens Barrichello crashed there in like 2003 or something, didn't he? Anyway, looked a lot like that. 17 cars remaining in this race, and Grankvist pits. Grankvist pits from second, and Platt pits from the lead. So the top two have come in. Ayres pit a couple of laps ago, so Shimon Frelick will now take the lead. And Grankvist sees a car come out right in front of him, that's Platt. So those two coming out even closer than they were when they came in. Frelick flies through. It's Frelick first in the only Royal Blue. On inters. Platt and Grankvist and are both on medium slicks. So they're on full slicks but medium compound. Chris Butcher also came in that last lap. And Pollentz is off from 6th. Once again into a gravel trap that unfortunately he knows quite well. I'm saying this about a driver in 6th place. That shows you just how tough it is out there. Frelick leads, Platt 2nd, Grankvist 3rd, then it's Poom and Lalu. You're watching Grankvist, and the car between him and Hygo Poom is a lapped car, so you don't have to worry too much about what you're seeing there. Mark Veit now out of this race. So 17 cars remaining. 15 on the lead lap. If you finish on the lead lap at this point, you're going to score points. Some of those cars further back are going to be lapped very, very shortly. Shimon Frelick in, so Dylan Platt leads the race once again. Followed by Jan Grankvist, who runs off. Grankvist has been through the gravel. Does he rejoin safely? Just about. Poom up to 3rd now. And he'll be right on the back of Grankvist in no time. Poom on the hard tyres. Frelick rejoins right in front of Chris Butcher. David Wasserman also into the pits from the top 10. More yellows. I'm getting very tired of saying that. And it's Leone, who has spent another couple of corners spinning and losing his front wing. There's Shimon Frelick, P7. Michael Ayres, P6. Catching Pascal Pollentz. And Pollentz runs wide, and Ayres goes through. P5 for Michael Ayres. Now, for a lot of drivers who are having incidents, going off and making mistakes, it probably sounds like I'm being really, really critical of them here. I guess I am. I don't mean to be, because it is obviously extremely difficult out there. These cars have a lot of power, and I mean they do have a lot of grip, but with the speed you're going and with the unpredictable nature of racing and of racetracks, I mean, this is quite a feat. Even those drivers who have had a few offs, but haven't had any major hits of the wall or whatever. And talking of that, Opportuni, so our pole sitter now has lost both his front and rear wing, which is usually a death sentence for the race of a driver. He might make it back to the pits, but he is going to be in there for a very long time. Damn, so our pole sitter loses even more time and positions in his race. Down to P11 already. Up into P10 goes Maxi Geisinger. There is Dylan Platt leading this race over Jan Granqvist. Those two have been actually quite close for a little while now, running together in this race. Opportunity's incident, by the way, was on the exit of the weight chicane. Just lost control. Oh! And Granqvist touches with a back marker there. And Granqvist is backwards on the circuit. Hygo Poom goes through to second. Whoa, that was close! Really good avoidance from some of the cars behind there. Really good avoidance. Granqvist down to fifth now. Ayres up to third. Now, who is that he touched with? I'm going to have a look on the replay. I think it was Christian Pascal. Yeah, so Pascal had an incident. Pascal had a spin on the exit of turn 2. And then as he rejoined... Well, there actually wasn't any contact between them, but Granqvist lost control while trying to avoid him. And then as he spun back onto the circuit, Gajowski had to go super evasive. And Michael Ayres picked the right side of him to go through. Oh, onto the grass goes Butcher as he tries to pass Frelick. This is crazy stuff. So, still 14 laps to survive. The gap for the lead is out to 5 seconds now. Platt appears to be extending it slightly. Chris Butcher on the offensive. Through the first couple of corners. Uses a bit of curb, has a bit of a twitch. There's a front wing that's been left on the exit of turn 2 there. A car going off into the gravel ahead of them. That's a lapped car. It's Joseph Herlock. Goodness, so Joseph... Oh, he's lost his front wing again. So it was Joseph Herlock's front wing that we saw lying by the side of the road there. And unfortunately, for the third time, Joseph Herlock, in his first single-seater race, don't forget, Shimon Frelick has a problem, and that problem is named Chris. Chris to the outside, onto the wet patch, has to back out of it. Herlock's spin instantly was... Oh, he tried to rejoin, and actually probably would have been okay if he'd got straight back on the racing line, but the trouble was he was having to give way to leaders as he did so, and then did so by getting off the wet line. Sorry, off the dry line and onto the wet patch. Back to the pits. I'd love to see how he'll do in the dry, actually. If he gets a drive this season in dry conditions, then that's going to be something to look out for. I don't know how good he is in the dry and single seaters because I've never seen it before. Obviously, more of a GT racer. The gap for the lead just halved, by the way. Dylan Platt now just 2.5 seconds ahead of Hygo Poom, somehow, I presume due to a mistake. This really is a race of attrition. It's all about who can make fewer mistakes, who can touch those wet patches less. The dry line is so much more defined in that final sector than it was before, though. There are a few other dry patches forming as Frelick now passes Butcher again, and that's because Butcher's off the road. He rejoins, loses out. Actually, he doesn't quite lose out because Jakub is a little further back. And Michael Ayres into the pits for what he hopes will be the last time. Yeah, there are a couple of other dry bits forming on the track as well. Under bridges and on straights. Butcher losing out. Oh, Butcher's hit the pit entry, so Butcher out of the race! Oh! He was having such a good drive. At some point he was running as high up as P4 or P5. And he's tried to pit there, and he's missed it, and he's slammed into the barriers. And that is very embarrassing. That's a David Coulthard style moment. Means that only 16 drivers are still in this race out of 25 who started. Definitely a race of attrition. At this rate, if you finish, you're getting points. And to be honest, deservedly so. I mean, in races like this, I feel like anyone who can finish, anyone who has the skill and the patience to finish the race, deserves a point or two. By default. Platt in the pits. Yes, so Dylan Platt comes into the pits again. I swear this is about his 4th or 5th pit stop now. It's hard to tell because when I look at the lap times, you can't really tell what's just a slow lap due to a spin or whatever, and what's a pit stop. But anyway, exits in P4 on inters. Christian Pascal's just had an incident. He's lost his rear wing out there somewhere. Platt down to 4th, so Poom leads, followed by Pollens and Granqvist, and Platt is the top driver on inters. Does that indicate that the rain has started up again? I'd say probably yes. So, what does that mean for the remaining 11 laps of this race? Is anyone else going to be caught out? Is anyone else going to blink? Or do Poom, Pollens and Granqvist have the car control required to do the entire remainder of the race on slick tyres and keep it out of the walls? No, okay, so Poom comes in, just about makes the pit entry, look at that. Yeah, definitely getting wetter again now. Hygo Poom into the pits, Pascal Pollens also in. What about Granqvist? Does he take the lead or does he pit? He pits! Does that mean that Dylan Platt will take the lead? And Platt does take the lead. It's going to be close between him and Poom. So Platt leads on inters, followed by Poom, and Ayres also on inters. Pollens will be 4th. Granqvist, Lalu's also in the pits. Shimon Frelick could pick up a few places here. 10 laps to go now. 10 laps to go in this extremely long and extremely dangerous Superlights race. Feels like an age since we had that aborted start. That red flag on the first attempt. Because we have had an absolute gladiatorial slugfest of a race since then. Platt, Poom, Ayres, Pollens and Grankvist, the top 5. And this race, it's hard to say who's in contention for this race at this point in time, because it really does depend on what the weather does and what each individual driver does. Also might depend on back markers. We've got a few more of those coming up just down the road. Some more coming up in barely any time whatsoever. Here is Dylan Platt. I see it's Pascal Pollens that we're on board with now. Hygo Poom. This car looks very different from on board than it does from the TV cameras. It's that big silver patch that catches me off. Let's take a look at some of the features of this new circuit. There, of course, there would have been a chicane there. Now it's actually quite a tricky sweeper we've discovered today. In the wet, catches a few people out. There's the weight chicane. The next one is interesting because it looks totally different when you look at a track map. It's a lot more pointy and right angled than it was before. Although actually, in the dry, it's driven pretty much exactly the same to how the old corner was, because you apex at pretty much the same place as you always did. Although there's another corner that's been slightly widened out onto the start-finish straight once again. The gap between the leaders is 1.2 seconds. Keep that in your mind. That's slightly closer than it was a lap ago. Actually quite a lot closer, to be honest. Was that the gap there that it showed at the bottom? It looked like he gained 0.8 of a second. Wow. So another little mistake from Platt, or maybe just a charging, flying lap from Hygo Poom. Michael Ayres running well in third place still. He was running third earlier on, and I thought it was kind of relatively temporary, but he's showing that he's here to stay. Definitely a contender for a podium, and who knows, at this rate, maybe even a win. The lap back markers. And Poom makes a little mistake, runs over the sausage curb on the inside of the weight chicane, and has to run wide to avoid spinning. Going to cost him a 10th or 2. Interestingly, as the track dried a bit, a couple of laps, or a couple of a little while ago in this race, a few more drivers did set fastest laps. Jakub Lalu set the fastest lap with 1:22.57, and Hygo Poom's off, and Poom is a long way off. That looked like a brake failure. He can't stop. He's in the barriers. He just could not stop that car. That either looked like a complete hardware failure or a brake failure, because nothing happened on that car. He just sailed straight on and hit the wall. So Platt now leads by 6 seconds over Michael Ayres, and TR Geeks are 1-2. Pascal Pollens is on the podium. What the heck happened there? Honestly, was he trying to steer it still? It'd be interesting to see what he says about that. It doesn't look like he was trying to steer it. Now that may just be because he already knew that it was pointless, because the car was already out of control. It was already going straight on. At this point in the race, I mean, it is the point where you might start to see things like that happening. Yeah, I'm looking at his telemetry, and it looks like he's slightly on the brakes. But yeah, just nothing happens. So Hygo Poom is out of this race in bizarre circumstances, and that might be worrying for other drivers as well. Especially if they've got a similar setup to Hygo. And that means, of course, that everyone who finishes this race now will score points. Again, that's how it should be on days like today, but it does mean that a lot of drivers have retired. Attrition is the word of the day. Goodness me, I cannot keep up with this race. There's a lot of things that missed in the YouTube chat as well. The kitty system saying screen freeze for Hygo. That's definitely a possibility. I've actually been having a couple of screen freezes myself today, so it may mean that there's a couple of issues with that sort of thing. Tyrone Frith also saying screen freeze. I mean, if that happened, then there's only so much you can do actually to keep the car under control, because you simply don't know where the circuit is. But I don't know. Could just as easily have been a brake failure. I don't know if any of those drivers are in direct contact with Hygo. Pretty sure Tyrone might be, actually. Anyway. We'll just assume something went wrong there, because that wouldn't just have been a driver error. I'm getting rather used to the colour yellow in this race. More yellows. And it's Opportuni, so the pole sitter is out by the looks of things. He's hit the wall hard, and he hasn't got any wings on that car now. He could do with some Red Bull. Sorry, that was a lazy joke there, but Opportuni in the wall and out of the race. Who started second on the grid? I can barely even remember. It was Joseph Hurlock, wasn't it? So none of the top three on the grid are really in contention for this race now. Jan Granqvist was fourth on the grid. Now Dylan Platt, who's leading this, where did he start? 10th! Goodness! He started 10th. Ed was nowhere near that. Collins was 5th. It really shows that rain is the big equaliser. It means that the big drivers can have issues. The drivers who wouldn't otherwise get a chance sometimes do. Even if they're not particularly quick in the wet, like in qualifying or whatever, that doesn't really matter. Because it's your race performance that does. And a lot of the drivers who started near the front of the order made mistakes and dropped back, or even crashed out entirely, like we've seen from some of the main contenders. Opportunity's probably still going to score a point here, because I think he went far enough in the race to be classified. Might even score 2 points. It depends on whether Francesco Leone can complete the next 2 or 3 laps in this race. But yeah, you need to complete, is it 80% of the race in order to be classified? I'm pretty sure that Opportunity meets that criteria. Yeah, because it would be 4 laps that would be 10%. And he did 40 laps? No, 42, yes, so he has done enough. So Opportunity is still going to score a point from this race, despite not seeing the checkered flag. Is it 85%? I think he's done 85% though, exactly. Anyway, I'll stop speculating. The gap for the lead's coming down. Platt and Ayres separated by 2.5 seconds now. Whether there's going to be team orders there or not, I don't know. I mean, probably. At this point, it's probably just, okay, this has been a crazy race. Let's just settle for this, you know? Let's just bring it home. Jordan 1998 style at the Belgian Grand Prix. Pascal Polens, best of the rest. P3, despite having seen the gravel quite a few times in this race, because, well, a lot of the drivers behind him have seen it even more. 14 drivers on the track. Leone has only just got past where Poom retired. He's got a couple more. He's got a little way further to go before he passes Opportuni. Oh, another spin there. Guzovski from 11th place. Fabian Schitzik might get a top 10 at this rate, despite dropping pretty much all the way back near the start of the race, due to being one of the first to go onto the full wets. The gap for the lead came down another second on that lap there, between Platt and Ayres. And yeah, we're on board with Dylan Platt going through turn 1. With Ayres. I knew it was one of the TR Geeks cars. It's another one of those cars that looks completely different from on board to from the outside shots. The car you see just up ahead there is Dylan Platt as his teammate. And the question now, I guess, is do they race or do they bring it home? Oh, and they're not going to need to figure it out because Ayres has run off the road. And that's going to be his last chance gone. So even if they were allowed to race there, Ayres is now 5 seconds back rather than 5/10 back. And admittedly, I'm not sure that will actually change the finishing result of this race, but it would have got his heart racing a bit. Guzovski now into the pits, and he's lost his front wing. He still had his front wing when I saw him spin a couple of seconds ago, but anyway, has lost it now. Francesco Leone has now finally got up into 14th position, so that means that Opportuni will come away from this round with 1 point. That is if he did do enough laps. I'm not entirely sure if he did. It's going to be close. I can't quite remember if it was 80% or 85% you need to complete the race, but whatever. I'm not sure that he'll care that much whether he comes away with 1 point or 0 points, because what he'll remember is the DNF. Ooh, Platt there, getting very close to the back of a back marker. That was a little worrying. I'm being told Tom Stevens has a fun fact. What is your fun fact, Tom? If TR Geeks wins this race, they will be the first team to win in every season of Super League Lights, or Superlights. That is a good stat there, Tom. Obviously, Superlights / Super League Lights, as it was previously known, has only been a series for three years, including this year. But even so, pretty impressive there from TR Geek. And Dylan there, lapping another back marker. He's lapped everyone up to 6th place now. David Wasserman was the most recent driver to be put a lap down, and Jakub Lalu would theoretically be the next, but he's a little too far up the road. I tell you what, the Mood Auto Concepts car of David Wasserman and Maxi Geisinger looks completely different to how it looks on the registered, I guess, car sprite in the game. So I wonder if that's a one-off livery there for that team. I wonder if that represents anything. Ah, because Mood is Australian, are they? Oh, you don't know? Okay, never mind. Sorry, that was just a suggestion there from Tom. Why is the word suggestion so hard to say? Final lap now. Did Shimon, Frelich and Jan Grankvist just swap? I swear they were the other way around. Yeah, it looks like that's been a change going on to the final lap there between Frelich and Grankvist. So Frelich up to 4th now. Here is Dylan Platt, who just has to keep it steady for a little while longer, half a lap more, in order to win here at the brand new Albert Park circuit, the extremely soggy Albert Park circuit as it is today. And then Michael Ayres, of course, could bring home a TR Geeks Energy 1-2. Dylan Platt started 10th on the grid, seemed to anticipate every single weather change. Pitted not too early, not too late, just at the right time, and kept his car very, very steady indeed. Couple of mistakes, but fewer than his opponents, and that's what mattered. Dylan Platt comes out of the final corner and wins at Albert Park from 10th on the grid. What a drive from Dylan Platt there. Michael Ayres makes the TR Geeks Energy 1-2. Fantastic performance for that team there. Pascal Pollens will be 3rd. Shimon Frelich P4. Jan Grankvist will be P5. I'm not entirely sure who's leading the championship after that round, but to be honest, it's still quite early in the championship, so it doesn't really matter. Jukka-Pekka Lailie will be P6. And the last driver on the lead lap, because having already finished, David Wasserman is P7, Maxi Geisinger P8, then Tom van der Voort, Fabian Schiertzek, Joseph Herlock. He had a good race. I mean, Herlock showed what he was worth, but unfortunately a few mistakes put him back to P11, and he'll have to prove it again on a different occasion. Christian Pascal P12, bit of a disappointing race from his point of view. He made a few mistakes as well. Mateusz Kozowski P13, Francesco Leoni P14, P15 potentially was Adriano Piccini. I mean, he is P15 kind of, although it depends on whether he completed enough laps to be classified or not. There is the final order. Two cars from the same team up in front there, TR Geeks Energy 1-2. And what an amazing drive from Dylan Platt and Michael Ayres. Both of them from the double-digit positions on the grid. And the rest of the field, there's so many DNFs too. 11 DNFs in total. And then of course we have one car missing. Lewis Pick is missing as soon as from the very start of the proceedings. What a day. We've got a second page of DNFs there. Giuseppe Saracino is the first. And that's the lot. So, we're going to be speaking to a couple of the drivers in a few seconds' time. There you see the calendar. In 2 weeks' time, we will have the Portuguese Grand Prix. We don't know what the weather's going to be like there. Of course, it can definitely rain in Portugal, but it can also be bright and sunny. And whatever the case, that's what we're going to be doing in 2 weeks' time. And in 2 days' time, we're going to be back here for the Super League, the Australian Grand Prix, which, to be honest, will probably end up being about the same length as this race. Maybe just a little bit longer, because this was 1 hour and 12 minutes in the end. That's quite a long time for a Superlights race. Anyway, let's start talking to some of the... Let's have a few success stories, shall we? Who should we start with? None of our podium finishers are there just yet. We've got... let's speak to Shimon Frelich then. Let's bring him in. Hey, Shimon.
Hello.
So, P4 at the end of that, but what a dramatic, what a draining race. How tiring would that have been?
Very. I certainly did not expect P4 starting from the pits, so if someone would say that I will get P4 at the end of the race, I'll take it with open arms. But yeah, it was a good race.
Absolutely. Goodness. Could you please enlighten us? Why were you the only Royal Blue car out there today?
So Lewis had commitments in real life. He told us a couple of days before that he might not be able to make the race, but he'll let us know. And 1 hour before the race, he or 2, I think, he notified us that he can't make it, and our reserve driver was not feeling well, so he also couldn't start. But doesn't look like it matters, because we outscored THR and increased the lead in the championship. So I guess that's a good result for us.
Indeed, a fantastic, fantastic finish you there. P4 from the pits, as you say. But that weather, so changeable. How can you predict something like that?
You can't. When it was drying up in the middle of the race, we looked at the weather forecast and it said no rain. And then we pit for the slicks. A couple laps later, it starts raining again. So, and I was also thinking of staying. My engineer, Thomas and Jeremy Harizoa, he said the guys behind were a lot quicker, but who knows what could have been when I would have stayed out, because I could have made it to the end on the tires.
Well, whatever the case, it worked out for you and you finished P4. So congratulations on a very good drive. And I mean, just for finishing that, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Shimon Frolic there for Royal Blue Racing. I was about to bring in Michael Ez, but he's disappeared right as I was about to drag him in. That is a shame. Who should we go for? We don't have... Oh, we do have our leader, our winner, Dylan Platt. Dylan, are you there? Dylan, we don't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us right now. We might come back to Dylan unless he can get it sorted out in the next few seconds. Okie dokie, might have to do that. I guess we can speak to...
Yeah, what was the end? Oh, no, never mind.
Okay, sorry about that. We can bring in Luke McGuire. So, Luke, we've just spoken to someone who had a very good day. We're now going to go to, I'm afraid, slightly worse day. How are you feeling?
Not great. It's never nice when you spend over a week or two practicing and then you get nothing out of it, but it is the way it is sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. You had a couple of incidents there. You were leading the race earlier on, but it all started to go downhill from there. Was there just something that didn't feel right within the car, or I mean, why did those mistakes happen?
Well, at the end of qualifying, we saw that it looked like it was going to be a dry race, dry qualifying. So we stuck it on mediums, put on P3. It was looking like it was going to be a good strategy, and just we set up the car for the dry. And when we went out in the practice session, practicing on the wets with our dry setup, it was literally undrivable. So we made good changes for the wetter, but because at the end of qualifying it dried up, so we didn't go with that setup. So we stayed with our dry setup, and then when the rain came, we just fell off the road in every corner. The rear was going everywhere.
Yeah, well, it ended up, of course, with you in the barrier. Are you going to make any changes to make sure that this doesn't happen again when the weather changes unexpectedly?
Don't know. I don't know if I'd make any changes because kind of it's really like a freak race. This, how it all unfolded. But I think we will probably, do some more wet running and have a wet setup there ready to go. But yeah, no, it's just bad luck really. It's hopefully the last time we have a pointless finish.
Yeah, of course. Pointless finish for both of the THR cars there. Disappointing, but thank you for speaking to us, Luke.
No problems.
Okie dokie. Is it worth trying? Dylan, do you have it set up yet?
Sorry?
Yes, Dylan, we can hear you now. Jolly good.
What do you do?
Yes, we were struggling to hear you before, but we have got it now. Okay, congratulations, you've won.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It's just out of the blue, First of all, didn't expect, any rain. Loading session, think, oh, God. And obviously, I think everyone was in the same boat, thinking, how are we going to get through this? Michael also started 16th, I started 10th. Both, I think we just got lucky, mainly. I know I did I think I got I think his wheel failed or something, which is unfortunate because he probably would have won it today.
Wow, that's bold, but you were holding on nicely. I mean, a lot of other drivers falling by the wayside. You looked a lot more like you were. I mean, at least for most of it, on rails. How did you manage that?
It's anything but on rails. Like on slicks, as we all know, moment you get off the line, you're gone. So last 10 laps, it was just tiptoe to every corner, making sure nothing happens. You know, that's just basically how I think.
And of course, it ended up with a 1-2 as well for your team. How much does that mean to you, and how did you manage it with Michael, of course?
Well, a lot of it, well, sorry, my mind's gone. Please repeat.
It's okay. It's been a long day. I'm just
It
saying.
really has.
Could we have some comments on your 1-2 with Michael there?
Yeah, like obviously with the start of the season, I think we were struggling for even points, first 2 rounds, and then become here. Yeah, like we've both got our own 2 separate engineers. I think if you speak to him, he'll comment on something similar. So between us, not much communication during the race, but I think that's just the best way to keep it for us, just maintain focus. And my engineer did a great job, Stephen Lexo. Just great job keeping me calm, for the last 10 laps.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, and we will speak to you hopefully if you get another result like that.
We'll see.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much, Dylan. Right. I think we probably only have time for one more very quick interview. Who else had a decent race? I don't want to end on a bad note. We don't have any of our other podium finishes in there. We do have Jan Grankvist was 5th at the end. Jan, you survived.
Yes, I did. That's all I can say.
Yes. Well, do you have anything more to say about it? How difficult was it actually out there?
Well, it is certainly the most difficult GPV race I've done so far. Keeping the car on the dry line and all that. Even worse was trying to navigate through all the back markers spinning in front of me and getting a bit unlucky with those. But, yeah.
Yes, you had that one big spin where you ended up in the middle of the road, didn't you? That would have got your heart racing.
Yeah, it was terrible. I saw the car spinning at least like probably 200 meters in front of me, and I already slowed down well enough, I thought, but then kept getting closer and closer. And then when I actually went to the wet part of the track, then yeah, aquaplaning, nothing I could do.
Yeah, well, ended up P5 anyway. That's I mean, it's a good deal of points. You're right up there in the championship now. It's very early, but I mean, you can't be feeling too bad about that one, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a bit disappointing with seeing how much potential there was left in the table, but I mean, overall, yeah, I mean, I'll take the P5 gladly.
Great stuff. Okay, thank you very much for talking to us, and
Thank you.
good luck in future races.
Thank you.
Okie dokie, so that's all we've got time for now, and admittedly, I do not have the energy for any more because that was extremely, extremely difficult and extremely chaotic. But what a race we've seen today. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you very much to everyone I just interviewed there, and thank you to all of you for watching along and leaving your funny, observational, intriguing YouTube comments. Thanks to Tom Stevens for providing the cameras and the broadcasts, and of course GPVWC for putting on this race. If you want to see some more of this, you just have to wait around for 2 more days, and then we will have the Super League race. I can't tell you yet whether it's going to be wet or dry or anything in between, but I guess there's only one way to find out. You have to be there. Good night from me, and we will see you then. bye.